Hi guys, welcome back to Antonio Valente Flowers. This evening I am going through the rose bed and I'm just giving all the roses their spring haircut after the winter. And so I just thought I'd put together a little bit of a tutorial and show you guys how I go about doing that. You can see I've done most of the bed. I've got this one rose bush left here, so this is going to be my model. So you'll notice that the first thing I've done is I've gone around and I've removed their winter protective mulch. It's just a hilling that I do every autumn just to get the roses through the winter. And that helps to protect what's called the bud union in the rose. The bud union is the swollen part of the rose bush just above the rootstock. And that's where the rose cultivar is grafted to a hardier rootstock. And so we had a pretty harsh winter. You can kind of see how I've had to really cut the roses back quite a bit. But because of that winter protection, that hilling, we're actually going to be fine. These roses are actually going to bounce right back. Most of these are Coco Locos, which is a really healthy variety, and they will do just fine. So once you've done that, once you've removed the winter protective mulch, you'll notice that above that mulch, frankly, most of the rose looks dead. But once you start removing the mulch, you'll notice you get down to some nice green wood. And so we know the rose is actually going to be just fine. So that's the first thing we want to do. We want to go in and we just want to trim right back down to the green wood. Okay, so you'll now notice that I've gone through and I've removed all of the upper dead wood from the rose bush. The second thing you're going to want to keep in mind is that when you are doing this pruning, you're always going to want to prune just above an outward facing bud. This will encourage, some outward facing growth in the rose bush, which is what you want to encourage rather. You don't want branches growing in towards the center. That's just going to crowd the center, and that can cause some sort of a disease and fungal issues later in the summer. So I've done that. I've trimmed back all the dead wood and I've trimmed to an outward facing bud. The third thing you're going to want to look for is you're going to want to remove any of the weaker canes, or the weaker stems that most likely won't produce a flower. And in fact, trimming those right back down to a more major stem will most likely encourage the bush to produce a stronger branch that will in fact flower. So I'm going to do that. You can see this branch here is kind of weak. Remove that one. This one here too. Okay. Now, the fourth thing you're going to want to look for is you're going to want to sort of open up the center of the bush. You kind of want to encourage a good air circulation in the center of the rose bush, because like I said, that will discourage any sort of fungal or disease issues throughout the summer. So I'm just going to go in and remove any of the canes in the center of the bush that are possibly crowding the center, just to sort of open it up. All right, guys, so the last thing you're going to want to look for are any two branches that are possibly crossing each other or growing in towards the center of the shrub. Again, you want to take care of those branches, eliminate those, just to, again, help encourage an outward growth to the rose bush ultimately. All right, guys, so that's it for trimming your rose bush. The next thing I'll probably come and do in the next week or so is I'll just come around with some slow release organic fertilizer, and I'll just scratch that into the surface around every rose bush, and that'll get them off to a really good start, and hopefully we will have another excellent season for rose bushes.